Hi everyone, welcome back to this micro-teaching course. I'm really excited to start this journey with you because what we are about to learn will make you better teachers, communicators, leaders, and learners, of course. Well, in the last video, the discussion covered the historical developments of micro-teachings and how it is evolved in nowadays digital world. And in this video, we are going to explore the assessment rubric for micro-teaching. You have to be aware of all components in the rubric so that your micro-teaching will get an excellent grade. Now, let's see the learning objectives for today's sessions. By the end of the sessions, you will be able to understand the rubric assessment for micro-teaching. Second, you have to be able to explain and apply all required components of the rubric. For this case, you have to make those components apply in all phases of your micro-teaching practice. There are 5 main components. The first, opening the class. The second one, it deals with learning materials. The third one, it covers teaching method, teaching media, and classroom management. The fourth is attitudes and appearance. And the last one is closing the class. Now, we will start discussing each component one by one. Let's start from the very beginning or the first component. It is opening the class. A well-executed class opening serves as a psychological warm-up for students. It prepares their mind, builds anticipations, and connects past learning with current objectives. In the micro-teaching rubric, this component is assessed through 3 main criteria. They are attracting students' attentions, giving motivations, and reviewing the previous topic. Now, let's discuss them one by one. The first criterion is attracting students' attention. Well, basically, it is managed to create curiosity, focus attentions, and make students feel mentally present in the class. And then you can apply the following strategies like providing icebreakers, short and fun activities related to the topic. It can encourage them, it can engage them in the class activity. The second one, you can also use provocative questions. Thought-provoking or controversial questions spark curiosity. The next one is visuals or props, like images, videos, or objects stimulate interest through sensory engagement. The next one is stories or analogies. Brief narratives related to the topic make the learning more memorable. It seems like the stories or the analogies will relate to their daily life or their conditions, or it deals also with their current situations. Therefore, it will be memorable. Or you can also do real-world connection. Show the topic connects to the students' lives or current events. Yeah, so it also deals with the previous strategy. For example, to begin lessons on persuasive writing, a teacher might show a viral advertisement and ask what you have in your minds about these advertisements. Then it can be followed up by asking, why do you think this advertisement works so well? Okay, that was attracting students' attention. Now, let's discuss giving motivation. In this case, motivation helps the students to see the value, relevance of the topic. Moreover, motivation gives meaning to the lesson. Even though this criterion is placed at the first sessions, you can still do it during the micro-teaching session. It can be in the opening, it can be in the middle, or even at the ends of the session, but before the closing, yeah. The next strategy in giving motivations is setting expectations. Let the student know that they are later capable of doing something after the lesson, and they know that the activity will challenge, will engage them during the class. All right. The next strategy is to make the class student-centered, so it can refer to their interests, goal, or previous inputs. Well, for example, you can say, in today's lessons, you will learn expressions that can help you present ideas more persuasively. It is the skill that will really useful, not just in exams, but in your future career as a teacher or public speaker. Now, we will discuss the next criterion, which is reviewing the previous topics. The purpose of this component is to activate prior knowledge and make learning continuous rather than fragmented. There are several effective strategies that can be implemented, such as asking recall questions. For example, what did we discuss last week? Or do you still remember our last discussions? Yeah, so that those are the recall questions. Or you use a mind map or concept check. It helps students visualize connections so that they can build a bridge between the previous topic and the current topic. You can also implement students-generated review. In this case, you can invite 1 or 2 students to summarize the previous lesson. Moreover, you may also use a quick quiz or a game. For this case, you can use Kahoot, for example, or by using flashcards, or even a simple board activity to refresh students' knowledge. Well, those are the scoring components in the opening, Then why a good opening matters in microteaching? So in microteaching, the opening is even more crucial because 1, you have a limited times to demonstrate your teaching ability. It sets the impressions of your teaching styles and classroom management. And it also shows your ability to manage students' engagement and motivation from the start. All right, let's move to another component of the assessment, that is learning material. This component assesses how effective a teacher presents the content of the lesson in alignment with the syllabus or lesson plan. Using appropriate materials, references, and evaluation tools, and in this case, this component consists of 3 major criteria. So they are the first, the explanations or the ability of explaining the learning objectives, and then the mastery of learning materials and evaluations activities. So there are 3. Let's discuss the first criterions, which is the explanations of learning objectives. This is used to clearly communicate the goals of the lessons so that the students understand what they are expected to learn and achieve. This criterion assesses first clarity. So the usage of simple expressions, and then it should be student-friendly language to explain the objective. So don't use the very complex language to explain the objectives. That's the first. The second one, transparency. Let students know the structure of the lessons of what activities they will engage in the class. This criterion also assesses relevance. In this case, you have to explain why these objectives are important and how they connect to real life or previous lessons. For example, you may say this: by the end of these lessons, you will be able to identify and use comparative and superlative adjectives accurately. We will start with a short video, then do group practice, and finally, you will write your own descriptive sentences. Okay, I have some tips for this criterion. The first, write the objectives of the learning on the board, or you just type it on the PowerPoint and then you show it in the format of slide. Okay, and the second, use action verbs. For example, you may use identify, analyze, create, or practice to make outcomes measurable, of course. And the third, you have to ensure the alignment between the objectives, activities, and the assessment. So it should be supportive. The next criterion is mastery of the learning materials. This assessment is to see the teachers demonstrate their competence in explaining the contents in a way that is accurate, understandable, and engaging. You have to be aware of the following key elements in this criterion. The first, comprehensiveness. The teacher must cover material in line with the syllabus or the lesson plan. And then you have to avoid skipping the point. The second one, the clarity of the explanation. Use analogies, paraphrasings, and scaffolding. It shows the gradual steps to help the students grasp the complex idea or the big pictures of the ideas of the material. And then the next one deals with relevance. Yeah, relevant examples, I mean. So use real life or relatable examples to clarify abstract or new concept. For example, if you teach the simple present tense, then the sentences or the example of the sentences should talk about the daily activities. Yeah, the next one is responsiveness to questions. So here, these components or this criteria will see how the teachers answer the students' questions. So in this case, teachers must answer the students' questions confidently using logical explanations and redirecting or classifying when it is needed. For examples, in teaching the past continuous tense, you can say, we use the past continuous to describe actions that were in progress at a specific moment in the past. You can take an example. I was watching, for example, I was watching TV when the phone rang. Here was watching shows an ongoing actions. Okay, that was only the examples. Now, let's talk about the next criterion, that is evaluations activities. This criterion assesses how you check students' understanding and help reinforce the material through active practices. Here, I have some key points in the evaluation activities. We can start number one, assessment method. In this case, you can incorporate both technique. Formative, you can do it during the lessons, or summative, you can do it at the end before closing. Yeah. The second key points is appropriateness. Activities of evaluations must in line with the learning objective. Yeah, so it should support the learning object, or in this case, the evaluations should answers or should direct or should lead the students to reach, to gain, or to grab the learning objectives. Okay, the next one is feedback. Teachers should provide immediate, clear, and constructive feedback to guide the students' improvement. The next key elements in evaluation is reinforcements. The teacher should acknowledge correct answers and attempts through praise or elaboration to boost motivations. Here are examples of evaluation that can be done in the class, particularly in grammar class. So this is only the examples. For example, for oral exercises, then you can ask, can you give me an examples of a sentence using the present perfect? Or when it is in written task, for example, yeah, write 5 sentences describing your daily routine using the simple present tense. Or even you can also make it in a group task like peer collaboration in creating a short dialogue or a role play. Yeah, role play. Well, those are the scoring components in the learning material. So now you have to be aware of these components whenever you do the micro teaching practices.